So we have ended the penitential season of Lent, the season of Lent where we are reflecting on what Christ did on the cross, and we have arrived at Easter. Easter is a celebration, but it's a celebration that looks at a grave a lot. And sometimes that's not a time of celebration. So what was going on here with these disciples? Why are these people celebrating? Why are we celebrating thousands of years later? Well, think about where Jesus' followers were in those days. On Friday, their Messiah, their King, has been crucified. You stand in that moment. I thought he was the one. I thought something was going to happen, and now he's gone. What happens in those days? It gets pretty quiet. It gets scary. It gets lonely. You know, we see that in those days, just prior to the crucifixion and in the crucifixion and before the resurrection, where are the disciples? They're denying him. They're hiding. We can see the rest of the story, and though Jesus continued to predict and prophesy and tell them what was going to happen, they still couldn't see the other end. And so we have the benefit of knowing how the story ends. They didn't in those moments. They were in fear. They were in mourning. They were in sadness. And then the women went to the tomb. They went to the tomb not because they were necessarily expecting to see an open tomb. Remember their conversation on the way. This huge stone is covering this tomb. It's an empty tomb. It's been sealed. It has this huge thing in front of it. How will we ever get in? Their conversation wasn't, oh, we're going to go see where the Lord used to be. It was, what is going to happen? How are we going to handle this? So they go to the tomb, and they are surprised. You know, we don't go up to the cemetery on Valley Road and see very many open graves, right? We don't see this opening up and people coming in. They were not expecting this. They go to the tomb and it is empty. He is risen. He is risen. You know, that verb, he is risen. Don't you love it? Because he is risen. Is present tense, it's future, it's right now, it's always. Not he was, not he will be, he is risen. He is alive. He is alive. And Jesus left there, and he left there telling us, of course, that he would be coming back. That's our hope in Easter. You know, it talks about, sometimes you look at these little details. Why did you put that in the Bible? Why didn't you put this in the Bible? Tell me more about that sentence. You know, there's a passage, there are multiple passages about this resurrection. And there's a passage that says, and then when he raised, all of the graves opened, and the people started, those that were righteous started walking around until he rose to heaven. And you've got like one sentence in Scripture on that. I'm like, only one on that one, Lord? What? You're at the dinner table and, you know, Uncle Jeff comes walking in. Are you kidding me? One sentence we get on that one? And so you look at these different sentences. Why'd you put this in? Why'd you put that in? And so there's this section where he's folding up these linens and lying them at the side of the table that he had been on. Why'd you put that there? Well, the Jewish people knew why they put that there. Because when you were Jewish, if you were a servant to the master, and the master got up and left, and he left things a mess, you were supposed to pick up after him. He's not coming back. But if the master gets up and leaves, and his napkin is folded on the side of the table and laid perfectly there, it is a sign to you, don't mess with anything, I'm coming back. What did Jesus do? He folded his grave clothes nicely and laid them down at the corner and said, hold it right there. I'm coming back. He let his people know, I am alive, I am coming, I am going to be here, and I'm coming back for you. Everything we found out that morning when those women arrived, everything Jesus said was true. Everything that he predicted had happened. And therefore, we can have faith that everything that he will that he has predicted for the future, that he will come back. Hold it right there, church. I'm coming back. It's true. It's true. And we get to celebrate that this Easter. Because he is alive, we get to have hope this Easter. We have hope for a future with Jesus ourselves. We have hope for heaven. And we have hope for our own resurrection. Because if he had told us that someday we would be resurrected, that our bodies would be raised and we would be resurrected, and he hadn't done it first, wouldn't it be much harder to believe? But those disciples saw this. They saw him, the women saw him, and then the disciples saw him. And as you continue to read in these passages, it's always, these people saw them. They told these other people, they didn't believe him. So then those people saw him, they told other people, they didn't believe him. So Jesus kept showing himself because nobody could believe this. This had never happened before. So Jesus shows us that it can happen. He was resurrected. We can believe in that. We can have faith in that. Sometimes the world around us can seem dark, but Christ is the light of hope in the very presence of God among our midst. And this is why we are able to sing, "Death, where is your sting? Where is your sting?" Because we know that Jesus has overcome death. That's what Easter is about. So, about 4 years ago, I had most definitely my darkest day ever. Most definitely my hardest day ever. My grandmother was in the nursing home, and it was very obvious that she was going to be passing away very soon. And to be very honest with you, there's always one in the family that has to make all of those decisions and hold the hand and be there. That one was me. Everybody plays their role, but that was my role. And I loved being there for her. I don't want to mean that, but it's a heavy role. It's a role that's requires extra grace from the Lord for sure. And I was a teacher right across the street here at Alanson High School at the time. And my grandmother was in Gaylord, and I was driving back and forth. I was obviously unable to teach in that week, in her last week, because, well, I tried, but crying at my desk wasn't going to work for my students, you know what I mean? So that last week, I was by her side instead. And I remember it being a Sunday night, and I drove by church here between my house and the school. And here it was in March, and I saw on the sign, and my heart was so heavy. My heart was so heavy. She was so close to passing. And I saw on this sign, and it said, "Because he lives, I can face tomorrow." And I thought, no truer words. Because I knew what tomorrow quite possibly would bring, and in fact did. Grandma died the next day. But I knew that whatever tomorrow brought, I could face it. Because he lives. Because he lives, I know that it's not the end. Because he lives, I know that she will live again. Because he lives, I know that I will see her again. Because he lives, it is a temporary separation. For a moment that will be eternal joy. For a moment that will be a reunion together because he lives. Church, I don't know what I would do without that hope. I don't know what I would do without Easter morning. This is why it is the most important holiday to me. Because if Jesus didn't live, Christmas doesn't matter. Because he lives, my life is changed forever. Because he lives, I know that this is not the end. So, not long after that, I did stand in the cemetery up on Valley Road. That's where my family's at. And I stood there at her graveside, and I thought I'd be sad. But because he lives, I stood there and I thought of the power of God. I thought of his power. I saw a super heavy cement vault closed shut over her casket. And I thought to myself, the next time it opens, it is going to be the power of the voice of the Lord that blows that thing open. And the breath of the Lord is going to roll these cement headstones like they're just marshmallows in the wind. And the Lord's power is going to come and lift them out of the grave like Christ was lifted from that tomb. And they will join his people. Because he lives, this matters. Because he lives, whatever happens in this world is temporary. And because he lives, the separation will never be eternal for those who love Jesus. So the hope that the women saw is a picture of the hope that we will experience. The resurrection that we saw of Jesus is a foretaste of our resurrection to come. Because he lives, because he had victory over the grave, death has been conquered. This is our celebration on Easter. Not the chocolate bunnies that my kids already ate the heads off of. Not the eggs that drip dye. Our celebration is that he lives, and this is not the end. The grave was empty. Someday ours will be too, because he lives. Something unexpected happened. When there appeared to be no hope, there was hope that first Easter morning. Where there was death, there came resurrection. And so we can stand in faith, knowing that the future of us as believers and those other believers from times past, for times future, and in all parts of the world are sealed because he lives. He is risen. Hallelujah. Please sing.